All right, so I left off talking about um, runners going back to their bases from one inning to the next if they get stranded on bases. Um, Going back to that sort of scenario where bases were loaded after the fifth batter got walked. Different scenario. Fifth batter's up. There's a runner on first base. Single roped out to left field. Okay? Roped out to left field. Unless the runner was already running before contact from first to second, that runner's probably going to stay at second, right? And that the batter's going to stay at first. We're thinking, well, okay. Um, obviously, if obviously there's the thought that okay, if the fifth batter is the last batter, why aren't they going to try to take extra bases? Again, that goes back to them returning to their bases. So they are de-incentivized, yes, to get greedy, to try to take a base they wouldn't try to take normally, because they do get to go back to their bases. So it kind of that circumvents some of that reckless base running that we'd see if we just cleared the bases after every five batters and they did not return to their bases. All right, so that's sort of how that works with base runners left on base after five batters. It's not a waste. They just go back out there the next inning. What this does, this just seems kind of silly at some point, right? Like, okay, I see how this game works. This version works. Like I see how it functions. I just don't see the point of it. Well, I was talking about the unevenly matched teams, right? I'm going to go back to that real quick. Whether my team is a 1 out of 10 skill level or my team's a 10 out of 10 skill level, I'm only sending, or each team is sending 5 batters to the plate every inning. If all 5 of mine are striking out and all 5 of theirs are hitting home runs, at the end of the day, it's still 5 batters per team. And so you have very much control over the length of these innings. Really, the only things you don't control that dictate length of inning is the pitches seen. Okay, if a kid gets a full count and then hits 3 foul balls before hitting one in play, that's going to be a little longer than a guy that goes up there and gets hit by the first pitch or hits the first pitch into play. Okay, so there could be like 5, 6, 7 pitches difference between those two batters in those scenarios. So there's variation there. And then, honestly, the length of the play. Guy hits a ball down the line. It gets pushed into the corner of the field. There's some throwing errors. It could be a long play. Guy ends up with an in-the-park home run. That could be a long play, all right? Versus a guy that goes up there and just hits a line drive right back to the pitcher. Pitcher catches it, he's out. So that's really, though, the only variation you're getting is the length of an individual play or the number of pitches seen by batter to batter. Okay? So you have so much control because of this on time. You can really figure out, after playing a handful of games, these games, if we do 5 innings of 5-batter baseball, are going to take this much time. If we do 6 innings, it's going to last this long. 7 innings, this long. You can really figure that out. You can figure out pretty close how long each individual inning lasts in an average 5-batter baseball game. And that can allow you to control game length if you're looking at a tournament where you're trying to get a bunch of games in a certain time window. So that's part of the beauty of it, the timepiece. Now, going back to the unevenly matched thing, there's a timepiece to that too, because if one team, can score all day and one team can't throw a strike, games can go long. But looking at it from the standpoint of taking the sting off from the team that's not nearly as good as the other team, what this does is, even though you might lose a 5-inning game 18-0 in this format, it still doesn't feel quite so bad because you're not really out in the field any longer than the other team is. You're putting less guys across home plate, but you're not sitting out there in the sun any longer than the other team, even if they are outclassing you. So that's a big thing to is while I'm not trying to prevent an 18-0 game. I'm trying to make an 18-0 game not feel so terrible, because at a certain level, 12U and below, I'm going to say, at a certain level, it should matter how enjoyable the game of baseball is. So if we can do something to keep intact some of that enjoyability, even when there's two mismatched teams going head to head, I think that's a net positive. I think that's a big perk of this game. I'm going to go ahead and stop here again. I'm about 5.5 minutes in. I will resume next.